High atop one of the tallest peaks in all of Tamriel sits an ancient site that is home to some of the most powerful beings in all the land. Even though they sit above man in silence, when they speak, their word is not only heard, but respected across the land. To attack them is almost certain death, and to reach them you must scale a treacherous mountain peak. Only Miraak, the main antagonist of the Dragonborn DLC, when encountered at his highest level, can match the power of the leader of this group. They are not monster, undead, mer, or even troll, although they are guarded by a particularly tough troll. Of course, I'm talking to you of the Greybeards. They have a rich story and background in Skyrim, so let's take a closer look at the Greybeards. The Greybeards are considered the monk class of the Elder Scrolls games. They live in silence atop High Hrothgar in Skyrim, near the summit of the Throat of the World. Through years of reflection, prayer, and study, the Greybeards have become masters of the voice. The first of the Greybeards was Jurgen Windcaller, who would later go on to be known as Jurgen the Calm. He was a Nord leader during the First Era, and perhaps the most powerful of the tongues. He was a strong and perhaps arrogant leader, using the Thu'um in battle as he saw fit. It was during the War of Succession, during the Battle of Red Mountain, when he used the Thu'um, or shout, in battle against the Dwemer and the Chimer. Although his power in the voice was great, he was unsuccessful in winning the battle. Confused, he had a revelation that the Thu'um should only be used for the glory of the gods, rather than for the petty fighting and wars of man. Jurgen then turned to pacifism, and this is when he took the moniker of Jurgen the Calm. Now High Hrothgar, the current home of the Greybeards, sits atop the 7,000 steps to the throat of the world. It is the highest peak in all of the land. When making the pilgrimage up the mountain, one can read from 10 different tablets that tell the tale of the Greybeards. You can even gain the passive ability, Voice of the Sky, by reading all 10 tablets, making it so that animals will not attack or flee from you for 24 hours in real time. This even works on followers or vampires. The voyage up the mountain may in fact be an inspiration of a Buddhist and Hindu pilgrimage to the mountain of Sripada in Sri Lanka, which also has thousands of steps. Todd Howard has jokingly said that he would count all of the steps up High Hrothgar, but in counting them for yourself, most will only come up with 748 steps. The shout that is used by the Greybeards has a few different names. Some call it the Thu'um, some call it the Storm Voice, or just the Voice. The Thu'um itself means shout in the dragon's language. Being that the Thu'um was merely the dragon's own language, it would make sense that they would be the only creatures in Skyrim who could shout. Eventually, the dragons would use this voice or shout as a weapon on the man and mer of Tamriel. Man stood very little chance in defending themselves from dragons, let alone dragons using the power of the voice. The goddess Kine took pity on man and went to Paarthurnax, the younger brother of Alduin, the king of the dragons. She convinced him to teach the way of the voice to humans to even out the odds. Man would eventually create a new shout, Dragonrend, and use it to defeat Alduin by sealing him in the time wound with an Elder Scroll. Dragonrend itself is an interesting shout. It actually works by forcing the dragon to understand the meaning of mortality itself. To a being of immortality, the idea of a limited lifespan is so foreign, so unnerving, that it tears at the very soul of the beast, breaking their concentration to the point that they can no longer fly. The shout is one of only 2 shouts created by man, when counting dragon aspect, and does not require any dragon souls to unlock. If you want to learn more about the translations of the dragon language or shouting, check out Thuum.org. The Greybeards, as we see them during the Elder Scrolls Skyrim, is a pretty small group, consisting of Arngeir, Bori, Wulfgar, Einherjer, and the dragon Paarthurnax. The 4 human Greybeards reside in High Hrothgar, while Paarthurnax is perched atop the throat of the world. Arngeir, the leader, is the highest leveled being in the game, except for a fully leveled Miraak at a level 150. The other Greybeards are all at a respectable 100 level. Arngeir is the mentor of the other human Greybeards. He outranks all of them in level and is the only Greybeard who can talk freely with your character in the game without using the Thuum. If you side with the Blades and kill Paarthurnax, he will refuse to speak with the Dragonborn. Bori, another Greybeard, teaches the Dragonborn Wold, or the Whirlwind Shout. If you try to speak to him, he only replies Dovahkiin, followed by shaking and bells. Einherjer will teach the Dragonborn the power of Ro, meaning balance. This is the second tier of the Unrelenting Force Shout. During the Throat of the World quest, Arngeir will not help the Dragonborn. Einherjer then says to him, Arngeir, Rok las Dovahkiin, Strondul ul Rock, Fen Tenvak, Paarthurnax, which means Arngeir, he is Dragonborn, he will talk, Paarthurnax. Wulfgar, who only says Dovahkiin, just like Bori when approached, is the last of the current human Greybeards. He is who you see during the Greybeard loading screen, and he has honey in his inventory, which before Hearthfire was a rare item with only 2 of them existing in all of Skyrim, the one here and the other being at Helga's bunkhouse. Paarthurnax, the dragon Greybeard, is the leader of the group and the brother to Alduin. As I said earlier, he is the one responsible for helping kind give the voice to the humans. Some say that he turned on Alduin due to Alduin's false claim to be a god. The Nords believe it was Kind who turned him on his brother. Now, Ulfric Stormcloak is not a Greybeard, but he did train with them in his younger years, but he is never mentioned by the Greybeards themselves. Perhaps due to him using the voice in battle, he is shunned and outcast from them. I often like to see where the writers may have been inspired for such lore when doing these videos. There are many references in Skyrim to other old stories and lore such as Lord of the Rings and other things from that time range. But I couldn't help but notice one story kept sticking out to me. Beowulf. Beowulf is an old English epic poem. It may be in fact the oldest surviving poem in Old English, and is commonly cited as one of the most important works of Old English literature. First off, when reading Beowulf, you will learn of a legendary Danish king from the 6th century by the name of Hrothgar. We all know High Hrothgar as being the name of the temple that all the Greybeards live in. In Beowulf, Hrothgar is mentioned as the builder of the Great Mead Hall, which is described in the story as the foremost of halls under heaven. I could see them referencing both the Great Hall, being the home of the Greybeards upon High Hrothgar, or possibly even a note to Jorrvaskr, the Mead Hall of the Companions. Even the term Greybeard, although spelled a little differently, is another Beowulf reference. A user on the Elder Scrolls Wiki noted a reference to Beowulf chapter 23 starting at stanza 1590. And it follows. The wise old warriors of Hrothgar, like him staring into the monster's lake, saw the waves surging and blood spurting through. They spoke about Beowulf. All the Greybeards whispered together and said that hope was gone. Another big reference to Beowulf is the warrior Wulfgar. He is the herald to the Danish king Hrothgar. He is also an impressive warrior and known for his wisdom. The reference is mostly a name, although in Beowulf, Wulfgar did guard Hrothgar, and we can also assume that the Wulfgar in Skyrim is also an impressive warrior and known for his wisdom. In Beowulf, the use of titles such as earls and thanes are used frequently. Well, earls is the English translation of the Scandinavian term jarl, which we know all too well from Skyrim cities. Okay, on this next one, I know I'm gonna pronounce this wrong, so I'm just gonna put the name of him up on the screen. But the troll known as the Udafrecht, or Udafrekti, or Udafrikti, I don't know how they pronounce that one, but that troll is in Skyrim, Oblivion, and Blood Moon. Many think that he is a reference to Grendel in Beowulf. In Blood Moon, the troll even attacks the Mead Hall Thirst, the same Mead Hall in the Skyrim Dragonborn DLC, just like Grendel attacked the Mead Hall in Beowulf. We also see Beowulf face off with a dragon, and there are dragons ever present in Skyrim. In the end, both stories are considered epic, or at least you could say Skyrim is a pretty epic game. There are long narratives about heroes and dragons, beasts and mead halls, and tales of Nordic cultures. All of these are similar as well. Well guys, that's it for me on this one. Is there anything I missed here? Let me know down in the comments, along with any questions or comments you may have for me. What do you think I should cover in the next Skyrim lore video? If you liked the video, if you could leave me a like, it helps the channel so much, and if you haven't subscribed yet, why not for all the Skyrim goodness? Thanks again guys, take care, and I will see you next time.